25 years of fearless and independent journalism. Hello, and thank you for joining us from wherever you are. We're live on DSTV 421, GoTV 144, and on YouTube where we're streaming live our top stories this hour. State institutions take practical steps to prevent coronavirus infections in Ghana. We'll go from parliament to commercial vehicles, and also we go to court where there's a directive to the former Deputy Bank of Ghana governor standing trial to self-quarantine when he returns to Ghana from a trip in Nigeria. Also coming up, what will influence your votes? This afternoon, the multimedia group launches election-focused programming, election headquarters, with a focus on building an informed electorate as election 2020 beckons, with details plus voices from all walks of life on what matters most to them as far as elections are concerned. And on Clean Ghana campaign today, inspectors found that out of over 20-seater toilets, including one for children, none had a discharge chamber. We'll tell you how fecal waste is possibly carried out at night and disposed of into the lagoon. Should have warned you about those visuals there. More of them are coming, so please be warned. I will remind you. Join us on DSTV, like I said, but also you can WhatsApp us on 0540109009. My name is Gifty Andopia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. Details of those stories now. Lawyers for NDC National Chairman Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo have told an Accra High Court the politician needs 10 days rest and should be excused from showing up in court. Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo and the party's Deputy Communications Officer, Anthony Kweku-Buahin, are facing 3 charges before an Accra High Court over alleged leaked audio detailing strategies that the NDC apparently intends to use for the 2020 election, one being the kidnappings of family members of political opponents. Court correspondent Joseph Akable was in court as the court excused Mr. Ampofo from the trial. Here is his report.
Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo and the NDC's Kweku-Buahin have both pleaded not guilty to the charges of assault and conspiracy to commit assault. The court is currently hearing the testimony of Benjamin Ampofo-Eje, a broadcast journalist who interviewed Mr. Buahin shortly after the tape went viral. Mr. Ampofo was not present in court when the case was called on Thursday. His lead counsel, Tony Luther, told the court the stressful campaign activities have made the politician suffer a relapse on an already existing ailment. He revealed his doctors had therefore asked him to take a 10-day rest. Trial judge Samuel Esiedu granted the request and proceeded to hear the case. Tony Luther and lawyer for Mr. Buahin, Dr. Aziz Bamba, then cross-examined the journalist. Mr. Ampofo-Eje maintained despite not drafting a witness statement he signed, he stands by its contents. He, however, told the court he had no knowledge regarding who recorded the audio and how it was recorded, when it was recorded, and whether or not the 2 accused persons were present at the said meeting. The case has been adjourned to March 18 for continuation. The state will be expected to call its second witness.
State institutions in the country are taking steps to aimed at protecting Ghanaians from contracting the deadly coronavirus. So far, 126,380 cases have been recorded across the globe, with about 4,635 people dying. In West Africa, Nigeria, Ghana's direct neighbor Burkina Faso, and recently Ivory Coast have all recorded cases. Well, President Akufo-Addo has been talking about plans, or what his government is doing to ensure that this disease doesn't come to Ghana, and if it does, it doesn't spread across. And part of those include an allocation of $100 million to enhance preventive measures. I'll have in the studio head of our health desk, Fred Smith, who has been at a coronavirus meeting on what measures are being put in place to help us stay away from it. Before that, here is President Akufo-Addo on the measures his government is putting in place.
At my prompting, the Minister for Finance has made available the CD equivalent of 100 million United States dollars to enhance our coronavirus preparedness and response plan. That is to fund the expansion of infrastructure, purchase of materials and equipment, and public education. I have ordered the suspension of all international travels by public officials, except for critical assignments, which will have to be authorized by the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President. All public officials are to remain within the jurisdiction until further notice. Video conferencing facilities and other technological tools are to be utilized whenever possible for international engagements. I've also instructed further enhancements of the protocols for inbound traffic from already affected countries. Fellow Ghanaians, all of us should, as much as possible, desist from all foreign travels, except the most critical ones, until there's a grip on the virus.
That's President Akufo-Addo announcing efforts by his government to contain or make sure that the disease doesn't get here in the first place. And if it does, that we are ready to deal with it. I have here in the studio Fred Smith, who's editor and also head of our health desk. He's been to a program by the Ghana Health Service on what is being done. Fred, you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Gifty.
And now this program was meant for faith-based organizations. Tell us.
And NGOs.
And NGOs. So tell us exactly what was it about and how does it even help us in this case?
Well, you realize that the virus spreads in areas where people, where there's congestion, lots of people gather and that kind of thing. So they're targeting organizations that group a lot of people. So for instance, the church, the mosque, and places like that. And these are the people who came, and the media fell under the NGO, and so I was also invited to attend to also get to know. And it's been an eye-opener for me, Gifty. A simple thing like how to wash my hand, I realized at this place I didn't know how to do it.
Okay.
What I've been doing all along was wrong.
So show us what you have been doing and what, according to the Ghana Health Service, ought to be done.
Well, I just put my hand underwater and just do this, and once I'm satisfied, I just leave it. But it's not so.
Okay.
It should take some time. You need to pay attention to what you're doing.
Demonstrate to us.
So pour if it's a liquid soap in there and like this. So because if it's like this, it can drop.
So it looks to me like there are stages of hand washing.
Exactly.
So the first stage is that you have the water, the soap in your palm.
First of all, you don't have to press the soap with your fingers. Press from here.
Why not press with your fingers? You're going to wash them anyway.
Because another person will come and use it, and if you are carrying any virus, you would have deposited them on this.
Right.
So use here. It is for your own good, because after washing your hands, you may want to touch or do something else.
Okay.
So it's for your own protection. Use here to push it down, and then you get it, and then you rub this way.
Okay.
When you're done, you can rub this way as well, and then when you're satisfied, now everywhere.
Okay.
This way, this way. Then when you are done, now you have to wash this way to be sure you are properly cleaning.
Okay.
And then you can do this, you can do this, you have to do this so that you can clear all the middle portion, all the holes in between, so that you are sure that everything is gone. When you are done, you don't have to sprinkle, you don't have to do this. You just have to allow the water to dry off coolly.
Why can't you sprinkle?
If you do that and there are any viruses still left on you, you're sprinkling it on the area.
Will there be any viruses left after washing our hands?
Yeah, you
That's scary.
you don't have to sprinkle. It is just for precaution. So try and ensure that everything you do is in the bowl, in the sink. Now the tissue, you must actually pull it top to bottom this way, so that you don't contaminate what is left. Someone else will also come and use it. So
I see.
That's another way. Once you have that, you do that gently, you dry it up gently, and then you use that. So you may have opened the tap. As you open the tap, you want to close it back. So you use the tissue you've used to dry up the water to shut it so that you're not touching it again.
Okay.
Because so you are 100% sure that you are not carrying any germs. You've clearly washed your hands and you are moving on.
So this meeting was supposed to educate faith-based organizations and NGOs on these, so that what they go back and educate the people.
So when they go back to the churches, the mosques, they know how to handle things to ensure that there's no spread. If anybody comes in there and with the virus, it doesn't spread amongst them. Okay. In fact, even at the church, you realize that the church starts with worship. So someone will lead the worship with a microphone, sing for about an hour, 2, sometimes 3 hours. I'm sure there will be lots of saliva deposited on the sponge, microphone sponge, and so the advice is that they should have someone designated for handling that aspect of it. Carefully remove that foam once that is done. If you have only one microphone in the church, remove that foam before the next person, if it's the pastor, whoever, also takes the mic. So you put a new foam there. The foams are not expensive at all. You put a new one there. So churches are essentially being advised to buy more of that cover for the microphone, so that one person or more than 2 people don't use one. The same sponge. Okay. So once you're done after service, you'd have to dispose all of them. Dispose of them? So the next service, you'd have to come with new sets. Can't you just wash them? No, it's not safe to just to be washing. That's what the Ghana Health Service is saying. Yes, it's not safe. So once you're done, just put them in the bin, and we'll be fine. Also, well, for those of us who sing in church, I don't know if everybody, in church will come along with this arrangement, but it will certainly be a bit awkward when you're in church and you're insisting that this has to be changed and it's not being changed. No, it will be very easy, because those who handle the microphone are just a few. Unless in cases where you do a dancing, this person will come and say, oh, this happened to me, I had a dream and this person did that to me. You mean testimonies? Yes. Okay. Right. Well, but this is a very serious matter. You've seen how at this time, how fast this disease is spreading, and you've seen how even, people at the top, usually when there's an outbreak like this, people at the top, happens to those of us on the ground, but now we're seeing the level of spread. We're seeing how people at the top are being infected. Fred, remind us of the things that we need to know, basic things that we need to know about wash your hands. For prevention, wash your hands under running water, and you do that with soap. That's the first thing you have to do. Keep some distance from persons showing signs, and currently the fear is there, so keep your distance whether the person is showing signs or not. We know that it takes about 2 weeks for the signs to show, so whether you know it or not, it is just safe for you to keep a distance when you are speaking to someone, just like we've done now. Don't get too close, no hugs, no handshakes. People who like to kiss and all of those things. I think this is really trending at this point. It is trending, but even that, hey, I won't advise. Oh, all right, okay. Why it's still contact. It's still body contact, and so if you have it, and that brings you very close. So I won't. So what works? Does the fist work? No, so you can just say hi, then I move on, Well, Fred Smith has just returned from a Ghana Health Service meeting with NGOs and faith-based organizations, and this is the information he's bringing. Fred will stay with me a while longer, because I'm going to go on Facebook. We'll put some messages there. I want to find out from you what your own thoughts are. So what do you want to know about coronavirus? We put there. We say send your questions and thoughts here. It will be addressed on the post at 3 p.m. Now, what we intended to do was to have a representative of the Ghana Health Service. At this point, Fred, we don't have the representative here in the studio. Not at the moment. Not at the moment. But so, because I've received the training, I can answer some of those. Well, let's see how that goes. So the question that Bambol is putting there is, what are the causes of the spread of coronavirus in Italy? We know perfectly that they follow every measures we've been told to practice. Okay, I'm not sure what you're saying, but you're essentially asking. You're saying that you believe Italy is doing the right thing, but yet it is, and yet it is spreading there. What is
Why is it spreading?
It is a belief. We don't know what caused. We don't know. So
what's causing the fast spread of the disease?
Exactly. Right. And we all know how it spreads, contacts and so on and so forth. And per the Italian culture, someone will give you a peck. Friends do that every now and then. It's normal. So maybe we cannot give a definite answer.
Right. So Salifu Wanha says, I would like to know how the signs and how it transmits from person to another, and then also how one can prevent him or herself from getting the infection. I think Fred has spoken about how to prevent it, but the signs.
The signs, the person will have fever, so the temperature will go up. The normal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. The WHO has also set a target. Once you reach 38 degrees Celsius, it means that you are in danger and you must be assessed. It doesn't mean you have coronavirus, you must be assessed. Right. But in Ghana, it's 37.5, far more stringent than what the WHO is advising, and so we're doing very well there.
Well, what this question says, a very interesting question he's putting up. He says, how can barbers and hairdressers in general prevent themselves from the coronavirus?
What some people are doing, some artisans are doing, is to put on gloves and give same to some of their customers who come.
Gloves?
Yes, put on gloves.
How does that have anything to do with hair?
With the hair.
I mean, for those who are being barbered.
Well, they'll be sitting there and they may touch things. So the best thing for them is to have some gloves. Once you are done, you just carefully remove them. And another thing is not just about having the gloves on, it's about how to take them off so that you don't contaminate yourself in the process.
Tell us about it.
So you do that carefully to ensure that it's not touching. So you roll it, okay, if it's on your hand this way, you just roll it and then you take it off. Okay.
So you roll it off smoothly and then you take it off. So let's go back on Facebook, get some more of your questions. This one says, how do I keep myself safe as an Uber driver? Any tips for him here, Fred?
I think for people like that, if you want to set up an electronic payment system, because I think that is the only point where passengers and the riders and the drivers come into contact. And so if you have some electronic payment system, you'd have done yourself some good.
Okay. Well, this one says, one Ghana, okay, so somebody says, I want to know, aside someone transmitting it to you, whether you can you get it without any contact with an infected person?
Not at all.
But what we have seen, and which I must add though, is what is happening in the United States of America, where some cases were recorded of people who had no travel records, but they had it. I think that particular incident is still being investigated.
Because that was simply mean they would have been in contact with someone who would have traveled before or has come into contact with someone who has the virus.
But then if you listen to the report, it did indicate that they had no known contact with anybody who has traveled. They have not traveled, and they had no known contact with anybody who has traveled. So I think that they're still investigating.
Yeah, that investigation will be very helpful.
And I think it's a curious one to look out for. Sure. Let's get more of those messages. When one contacts the virus, does it give the person immunity after the person has healed? Okay, so whether you be immune from the infection after you have healed. That was, I think, the case with Ebola at a point, but I'm not very sure about this
So we need the health experts to tell us that, but we know that some people in China have been reinfected.
Right.
So,
is it airborne or fluid? Or contacting people through fluids? And I'm getting similar messages here as well on our WhatsApp platform. The question is it airborne? What are the experts saying, Fred?
Well, because you can contract it if you're close to the person. My understanding is that there are droplets as you speak, and those ones cause it. It is still a technical question. The experts must give a definite answer.
Right. Which is what we're hoping to do with the Ghana Health Service. But trust me, we'll get him to come back here. This is the pandemic, as you know. So we'll do a lot of education on that here on this show. So this one says, if no case, Does it also mean absence from sex even with your own spouse? I don't think so. Nobody. Now that's a question that gets Fred to smile. Nobody is talking about not having sex, right?
Yeah, you have to take individual decisions on that.
Well, that's certainly, well, with your spouse, it's certainly your choice, and it's certainly your decision, and it's certainly a good thing to do, I think. Well, barbers use one machine from one person to another. Can it be transferred through this medium? Do we know this at this point?
All right, so again, we need to check if the sterilizers that they use in these barbering shops actually work. So we need to check. Some barbers don't have working sterilizers. So they just have the box, they just put it in, whether it's working or not, that's it. So we need to check. But once it's sterilized, it provides some safety for the next user.
Right. Some churches stay in church for so long. What did they say about the length of time that people stay in church?
There was no talk about the length of time, but the advice is for you not to come into contact, don't be touching people, and I mean the microphone issue that we talked about, don't use the same microphone and share the saliva, just one person to it, and try not to be touching people. And if you have any fever or any suspicion of coronavirus, just self-isolate until the and then make a call. In fact, the very important point is that don't go to the hospital. Make a call, because there are some contacts that have been sent out. Call those contacts. It goes to the emergency center, and then someone will come for you. In fact, a team will come to your house, wherever, and take you to the nearest hospital where preparation would have been done to receive you. So don't do that. Because
if you are infected, God forbid, if you are infected and you make your way all the way to the hospital, the chances are that you are infecting all the people you come into contact with on your way to the hospital, and the hospital staff themselves. Now, we need to protect the hospital staff, because they are the ones that are keeping us protected in all of this. Fred,
in fact, in one instance, in one of the countries that have been affected, I don't want to be specific, the health officials who were supposed to deal with this matter, the frontline workers, happened to be infected as well. Well, they had come into contact with persons who were later found to have been infected, and so a majority of the health professionals had to be quarantined. And so who is taking care of you?
Who will take care of you?
It's the reason why you must take personal responsibility now that you don't have a case.
Okay. Well, Fred will stay with us a while longer. I know some of you are still sending in your messages, but in the United States of America, President Donald Trump has announced a ban on travelers to the state from Europe during a televised address to the nation. Now, the ban, we understand, should be in place for the next 30 days in an attempt to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Just yesterday, America had recorded 32 deaths already. That this is a pandemic. Every country is taking all the necessary steps to make sure that their citizens do not contract it, that it doesn't come to their country. You've seen all the countries around, most of the countries around Ghana have it. We don't have it, thankfully. Well, President Akufo-Addo has tips for you as well on how we can stay safe from this. He's talking about handshakes, as Fred indicated. Listen.
I was encouraged to note that the 2 well-attended funerals I participated in over the weekend in Ashanti, people were observing the injunction against shaking hands. I want to reiterate, as I indicated on 6th March, and as the Ministry of Health has advised, that we have to revisit our custom of shaking hands and stop doing so completely. And we must cover our mouths when we cough or sneeze. All of us need to adjust. Let us continue to observe the basic preventive behavior, i.e. washing our hands regularly, using alcohol-based sanitizers, stopping shaking hands, and avoiding unnecessary close body contact. The government is analyzing the potential impact to our economy of the virus and will trigger the relevant response to minimize it.
Avoid unnecessary body contact is what the president said. You saw what Fred did this afternoon when I tried to give him the elbow. He totally avoided it. He's just coming from a training, so you can expect that. Well, some of you are still sending in your messages. This one is asking, is it possible for is it possible to apply any preventive measures when you are on board a trolley? Now that's a very interesting question, because you know what, Maxwell Agbagba has been out there talking to people in trolley. Fred, what do you say to that question before we go to Maxwell?
I think you'll be touching things, you'll be giving the mates some money, and so it's safer if you wear gloves here again, and make sure you'll be sitting very close to people, but make sure you are not touching them. And these days, I think the trolley will pick 3 on a line.
Is that what they're doing?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well, let's see for ourselves. How does the trolley, I mean, I've not used trolley, but it used to be my favorite. Trolley is actually how I learned driving, because I will always sit in front of a trolley and look at how the drivers are, you know, and that's how I learned in my head how to drive.
3 in a row, that's what I'm hearing.
But we're hearing that trolleys are now taking 3 in a row. Now that's a major economic problem for mates and their drivers. But Maxwell Agbagba, like I said, joined one of those trolleys. Take a look.
I'm currently in a vehicle from the Circle Terminal heading to Russia, a place in Dansuman called Russia. And now here in this structure, in this commercial vehicle, popularly known as structure, what I've observed is that there's nothing like personal space. There's no way you can avoid the next person, you know, sitting to you. President Akufo-Addo yesterday in his address to the nation on COVID-19 advised us to, as much as possible, try and create, you know, some space. We should try and reduce, you know, personal, you know, contacts. In fact, doctors have actually advised that one of the ways to stay away or to be safe from the coronavirus is to avoid crowded places and contacts with people. But here in the trolley, there's nothing like personal space, I tell you. Even here, as I said here, I try as much as possible to avoid a luxury, but I cannot avoid him. There's still some space, there's still some kind of closeness. Luckily, we have a nurse here who is in this trolley. I want to find out from her what she makes of the situation.
We are all at risk of being infected. So the advice I'll give to them is, when you enter into a trolley, you should be careful. Careful in a way that someone who is coughing, someone might be sneezing, you might not know if the person is infected or not, because at that moment it doesn't show, the signs and symptoms doesn't show at that moment. So when you come into contact with someone who is coughing, sneezing, at least I think when you have an handkerchief or something, when you are direct to the person, the best way to do is when you have an handkerchief, you just pick it up. Someone coughing, someone sneezing, so that at least you cover your nose like this, so that when a person is coughing, it will not come into contact with you. And I think the best way to is most of them should carry hand sanitizers along when they are going to work or anything, so that once a while they just drop some and then just rub it on their hands.
Just sitting here, the mates just coughed right now, and I don't know whether I should run out of the car or not. I mean, we don't have any outbreak of coronavirus, but let me find out from you. Do you think there's enough education? People are well educated enough on this, when they need to cover their mouth when sneezing, when coughing, and all of that?
I don't think most of the people know, so I think they should be educated more on it.
Serious, and this I
Well, what he's saying is that we need to take our prayers seriously. We need to pray against the outbreak of coronavirus here in Ghana, because we do not know how these infections, come about.
Some people, they are just stubborn. They don't follow the rules, because when you tell them to wash their hands or use sanitizer, they think, oh, after all, Ghana germs, African germs are friendly. Yeah. So some people, they just do we just thank God that we are all safe, because some of the things that we do, in case that virus should strike right now, I think it will be very, very bad.
I just want to find out from you, in case there's an outbreak, are you still going to rely on public transport?
considering how it spreads, it won't be advisable to be joining public transport, because if you look at most of the countries that recorded the highest numbers, their streets are cleared and other things. So it's actually going to be a disturbance, because in Ghana, this our main means of getting to where we want to get to. And if this deadly disease is such that it can be contacted easily, then I'm not sure we'll be able to join the public transport.
So what other transport will you be doing should there be an outbreak?
You know, when it comes like that, you just have to stay off from the streets. Okay. So in instances where like there's an outbreak here, because currently there are about 88 cases in Africa, with Egypt recording the highest. And if such incident is to drop here in Ghana, trust me, the impact will be very detrimental. So we just have to, like Baba said, we just have to pray that it doesn't come here. And if it does, we just have to take the precautions that have been given and stay more careful. Thank you. My name is Prince Fosu. Prince Fosu? Yes, please. Thank you. You're most welcome.
You better give us information about the symptoms of it, so that if someone is affected, we can easily identify it or see that, yes. If you say you avoid close contact, let's say if you go to church, in the congregation, when you are worshiping, you are singing, you are dancing.
When we're singing, we are together again. Now we can't hug and we can't shake hands, but that's just a temporary measure. Let's hope that this doesn't get here and it ends sooner than later. Maxwell Agbagba has also been speaking to the vice chairman of the Odona branch of the GPRTU, Alhaji Isa Mohammed, who says they are helpless and that they want government to intervene by providing them with sanitizers and education.
We didn't, this epidemic, we hear that the epidemic now is in Togo.
Yeah. And other neighboring countries.
Other neighboring countries. But you see, we didn't hear about the media. The media is supposed to talk more, but we can do our effort here. Okay. But let's take it, God forbid, let's take it when somebody have the virus here. What will you do? What we will do, which advice or which experience we have here? We can't do anything.
You can't do anything?
We can't do anything, we don't know. But we hear that they said we should find sanitizer. Some of people say we should find, when you get soap and this thing. But
you seem helpless, but have you not thought about, maybe putting bowls of water here so that for passengers who would board, the vehicles that are parked here, they'll wash, you insist on proper hand washing before they get onto the vehicles? Is there not a suggestion you are considering or anything?
Oh, that one is good. Now you are advising us. You understand? That's why we are saying that the government or the municipal assembly that control here, or the MP or the assemblyman, supposed to come and educate us more, because we are many people here. Now, what will you do? We don't know anything about it.
So the GPRT chairman there asking for government to help them with sanitizers. But it is your responsibility, Fred, to keep yourself protected. So if you're waiting for sanitizers from government and they haven't come, it's not really
you'd have to get your own sanitizer. And today I got to know that it's not, how do they put it? It's not every sanitizer be sanitizer. The sanitizer must be alcohol based, and not just that, it must be 70% alcohol. So be deliberate about it. Look for it on the bottle that this contains 70% alcohol. Okay. Then you can get that. Anything less may be ineffective. Be sure that you have the right one.
We've also heard about alcohol-based this, alcohol-based that. People are actually thinking that drinking the alcohol into your body could actually work the magic.
All right, so the area where the virus infects is completely different from where drinks or food pass. Okay,
so, explain that further.
Okay, so if you drink alcohol, it will not pass through your system where the viruses would be in case you are infected.
So you won't kill the virus anyway.
Yeah, it's
by
a different.
drinking
There's a
alcohol.
different
You're
channel.
Killing yourself instead.
You just drink everything, and once the viruses are in you, it enters your bloodstream, and
drinking alcohol.
whether you drink alcohol or not, nothing happens.
I just want us to clarify this.
So don't drink the alcohol.
It won't deal with it.
Sanitizer, something that's been purposely made for hand rubbing.
Okay, right, but can you rub your hands with alcohol as well? As in apateshi, for example.
I've not been told about that, but the trainer today told us his experience, what he found. On Sunday, he was training a group, and a certain lady came and said that the brother is in the US who, because they said they should use alcohol-based hand rub, they started buying, they ran out in their community, so they decided to buy Jack Daniels.
To wash their hands?
Yes. To drink some and wash their hands. And so Jack Daniels too proved to be very expensive. So they told the sister to send gallons of apeteshis to the United States.
Well, that's not what you want to do. You want to actually take this disease very seriously, and you want to take all the necessary precautions. Now, messages, the way that you're sending in the messages shows how concerned you are. So go the extra mile and protect yourself. I'll read a few of these questions, and then we'll call it a wrap with Fred. And then we'll take a break, and when we return, we'll go to Parliament. With this pandemic, this one is asking, we make requisition to our medical stores for protective clothing, and yet we are not getting them. Why? I believe that this person is a nurse. He sent this message about 15 times, deliberately wanting for it to be read. He says, I'm saying this because some of us at the health centers and hospitals have not received face masks for the past 8 to 9 months. Okay. Well,
wow.
That's it.
This person doesn't say which hospital it is, because we are told that we've distributed about 5,000 PPEs and some other, equipment to ensure that they're able to prepare against
Well, it will be good if you send us your location, which clinic it is, which hospital it is. I mean, Fred is in touch with the health experts. We'll relay this information to them and get the help back to you as it's required. This one says, when we are faced with coronavirus, the government is saying there is medical staff prepared, but they don't care about the life of the frontline nurses who might sacrifice their lives. It's a long message you sent. I can't take all of that, but this one.
Okay, Gitu, let's address that.
Please.
At this point in time, what we don't have to do as a people, whether you are a nurse, whether you are an ordinary person, whoever you are, the disease will not spare you if it should be in Ghana. So the mistrust should be discarded. Don't have mistrust for the system, because the health officials you can ask questions, but the mistrust will not help, because at the point of mistrust, then you do not want to follow the instructions or advice given.
Right, right. Is it advisable to be waving handkerchiefs at church during praises? Because most churches do that in Ghana, and we know that people are using their handkerchiefs to cough, to sneeze.
A very important question. Please don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't wave handkerchiefs.
Don't.
All right. Well, there's a lot for the church to learn today. I mean, the microphones you're using, you call it what, the sponge?
The sponge,
The sponge on the microphone, you ought to change it for each person. Don't wave your handkerchief, you'll be him. No, we're not hymning for now. And you also ought to avoid unnecessary body contact in church. So a whole lot of things that we need to learn, but unfortunately we don't have all the time. This one says, Gifty, this is the time for government to give attention to the community and public health nurses for employment. Active community surveillance and health education is the ultimate prevention method. Prevention is our main business. This is coming from Japan in the Volta region. Fred, I'll take your final comment on this and we move on.
Well, I learned also today, many things I learned, that even my home is at risk.
How so?
Yeah, because as I'm here, my children have gone to school, and by the time I return home, they would have come back. I don't know which children they came into contact with and who the parents of the children are, who they've also been in contact with, but they will come. By the time I get home, they would have gone into the fridge to take a drink or something for themselves. I also go and take a drink. They would have touched the door handle. They would have switched on the TV with the remote. And so I am making a new rule in my house that only one person handles the TV remote. It is mommy, who who stays at home more than any other, she will control the remote.
Well, I don't know how many of you want to follow in Fred Smith's footsteps to make rules in your home. Well, thankfully for me, I'm the only one who uses them, the remotes. So there's no problem there. But Fred, I'm just seeing this one that's coming in. That just caught my attention. What of the frequent use of hot lemon juice?
That is completely false. Don't do that. It came up at this meeting, and it's false. Don't do that.
A lot of questions on your mind, and hopefully we'll be doing more of this, Fred, I think.
And also be skeptical about the, in fact, there's fake news in the system. Yesterday we saw someone actually design a story on a BBC template looking like a BBC story that there's the first case of coronavirus in Ghana. Well, you need to go to the website proper to check, and that was the first step. I did not find any such story. I checked further and realized that even the airport they displayed in that story is in Nigeria. It's a Lagos airport e-terminal, and yesterday there was no flight at all from Italy. I don't know who is interested in spreading such false information.
Well, this is what happens in pandemics. Information goes out, information that can be false, but also note that when you spread some of this information, you are actually spreading the disease. Fear, they say fear and apprehension is actually one of the main causes of the spread of such diseases in pandemics. So we want to be very careful.
We receive a lot of information from the health experts, especially Ghana Health Service, the doctors and the rest. And all of these things we get, we put them on myjoyonline.com. So I'm sure if you go there, stories on COVID-19 or coronavirus, I'm sure you get some valuable information. Also, the Ghana Health Service, they've put up a website, the GhanaHealthService.com. You can go there and check for any information that you want.
GhanaHealthService.com.
And then the WHO, they also have a website. There's a lot of advice. In fact, there's a course on coronavirus there, which is very short. You can everybody can take to be an expert.
All right. We'll be doing more of this here. I believe that it will help all of us to avoid the disinformation spread. This is The Pulse with me, Gifty and Opia. I'm here with my producer, of course, and that's why I'm saying with confidence that we'll be doing more of this here on the show, so we get you all the information that you require to stay safe. I'll take a quick break. When I return, I'll take you to Parliament. They are talking about their own measures to safeguard, Parliament, the seat of legislature from coronavirus. I beg your pardon. I'll be right back to stay with us. Welcome back to the show. Like I said, I'm taking you to Parliament. My colleague Joseph Opoku Gakpo is our correspondent. He is joining me live from Parliament. Hello, Joseph. Joseph, if you do hear me, we understand that the Health Committee is expected to hold press briefings on this matter.
So what has actually happened is that a little bit earlier in the day, there was a press briefing by minority MPs on two subjects. First of all, the killing in the Sugakofe area, which has a member of parliament for the area, Kobna may address. And then when they were done with that...
Just a quick interruption, Joseph. I wanted to take what happened on coronavirus in parliament, and then we'll move on to talk about other matters.
So it was at that same press conference after Kobna Woyome, who is the MP for South Tongu, had addressed issues having to do with the killing in the Sugakofe area. Then Kobna Minta Kando, who is the minority spokesperson on health and the ranking member on the health committee, also addressed the media, making the point that we heard the president make the point last night that up to $100 million was being dedicated to the fight when it comes to coronavirus. He says that the president and, for that matter, government had made previous assurances when it comes to monies that were being dedicated to the fight against the disease, including an indication to the Health Committee of Parliament that 35 million Ghana cedis was being released, and another indication from the health minister himself to Parliament generally on the plenary that up to 2.5 million cedis was being released. And in the words of Kobna Minta Kando, those promises did not materialize, those assurances and the promises of those release didn't happen. And so this time around that the president is announcing $100 million release, they are not convinced. They think that this is something that should come to the floor of Parliament possibly for an approval of a sort, so that then the legislators would help track this disbursement. He made general comments about Ghana's preparedness. He is still convinced that Ghana is not exactly prepared to deal with any possible case once that comes up, and he thinks that over the years, in his words, lip service has been paid by the health ministry and other government officials to the disease over the last few months since it became an issue.
Well, you were telling us also about what else has happened in Parliament. What else has happened in Parliament, Joseph?
On the issue of the coronavirus, earlier in the day, the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, commented on that and indicated that the House is putting in place a number of measures to protect MPs and staff and those who visit the House, including the deployment of a lot of sanitizer stations to various parts of the Parliament House generally. And additionally, in the course of that conversation, he was reminding MPs to avoid shaking hands, which he says will be a very terrible thing to be doing in the light of the outbreak. And once you raise that, Muntaka Mubarak, who is the minority chief whip, was drawing his attention to the need to have a thermometer seated right in front of the House so that then visitors and MPs are checked even before they enter the chamber. And the Speaker directed that that is also a good idea, and so the clerk should ensure that that gets done so that going forward, whether you're a member of Parliament, you're a staff, or you're a visitor to the House who is coming around, when you are getting in, your temperature can be checked so that those who possibly have a coronavirus could actually be screened out. MPs have responded generally to that and indicated that, well, the measures look good and they hope it prevents any possible outbreak. But on other matters, the Minister for Trade and Industry was on the floor of the House to respond to questions on one district, one factory, and what government has invested in that particular project over the last 3 years. He says more than 1.2 billion Ghana cedis has actually been disbursed to more than 172 companies in order to finance that particular project. A figure that the minority is disputing. They demanded that he provide the full list of the beneficiaries. The minister said he would not be able to do that because that was an arrangement between those who benefited and also their banks. And as well, the MP for South Tong has been addressing the issue having to do with the killing in the Sugakope area, and he says it's about time that the IGP deployed a lot more police persons to the neighborhood.
Joseph, thank you very much for that update. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is parliamentary correspondent who joined us from Parliament. Now, the die is cast. In the coming weeks, your most credible news source, JoyNews, will be rolling out a series of election-focused programs as part of our grand plan to deliver comprehensive coverage before, during, and after the December 2020 polls. From the young to the old, the elite to the average person, there is something for everyone. Here is a recap of what you probably missed, plus why JoyNews is your choice network for all things elections. Of course, this is your election headquarters.
What does this mean? We therefore project it is almost statistically impossible for president to achieve 50% plus one.
2016, JoyNews delivered to its audiences what many describe as unrivaled election coverage. And it is not for nothing that the network has become the reference point for all things election coverage. Of course, your election headquarters. With 9 months to the December 2020 polls, JoyNews is at it again, launching an elaborate coverage plan, fresh programming content, revitalized people-driven shows, and of course, a competent team. Head of Political Desk Evans Mensah speaks about some of the new shows expected to be rolled out in the coming weeks as part of a 2020 coverage.
The tracker is a very interesting one. What we found over the years is each time a government is elected and they go into government, you start putting to them the promises they've made to you when they were campaigning for your vote. And then they start making adjustments to the actual text of the promise they make to you. So I give an example. When I did an interview with Antonia Kutose, who is the Minister for
Monitoring and Evaluation.
Remember that interview? So I asked him the question about one district, one factory. And he says, listen, we never said that we'll do it ourselves. We said that private sector will do it. I checked the exact wording in the manifesto. And indeed, they said it's in partnership with the private sector. But I recall, on many political platforms, beyond what they said in the text, a lot of their folks who are campaigning have said, we will do it. And for the president has said it too on platforms, that by the end of my first term, I will have one district, one factory. One district, one factory means every district, by the time you finish your first term, will have a factory. Now,
so much
3 years on, we asked the question. He says, but that's not exactly what we said. But when you go to, he refers to the text. The text is exactly that. But they've said that on a platform. So we say, this time, we're not going to hold you only to the text of your manifestos. Okay. We're also going to hold you to what you say on political platforms. So we say this year, with a tracker, which is mainly sitting on the morning show, we're going to track every promise you make, not only what you write down in the manifesto.
Building an informed electorate, the theme for this year's election headquarters, seeks to help the voter make decisions from a position of knowledge. The new show, The Verdict, will be key.
This is an in-house show. This is where journalists, among ourselves, come on a platform and look at all the campaign-related issues. This is not about the promises. This is anything. Like, for example, today we've seen in the papers an internal plot against JM, whatever it is. We will analyze it. We will pronounce a verdict on it in the end, ourselves. And there's going to be a gavel in the studio. And the host of the show will strike that gavel to deliver the verdict, what we think it is. Give me a candidate. We'll scrutinize that candidate inside out and tell you what we believe the candidate's chances are. It's our opinion, but it will be informed opinion. You are allowed to disagree with us, and that is why there's another element in there will be a significant social media polling that will feed into it. After you've heard our verdict, tell us your verdict as well. Let's see whether your verdict agrees with our verdict. It's an exciting show, but it gives you a sense of what I guess we think. We do editors forum all the time. This is a variation of that.
Two shows from the election year 2016 are back, revitalized and even more engaging. With partnership from the Star Ghana Foundation, Ballot Box will be with you. Here is Programs Director of the Foundation, Ibrahim Tanko, when he was asked why the foundation came on board this time.
They say that the good thing sells itself. Multimedia has stood out over the years in terms of the quality of its coverage of the elections, but also the provision of opportunities for people who have otherwise been excluded from the dialogue to have a say, to participate actively, in the conversations leading up to the elections. And so we didn't have any reservations at all when the issue came up as to whether we're going to continue with their support.
Well, for the young and trendy, you have not been left out. Elections, as much as it matters to the old, matters to you. Ahead of the election, both the governing New Patriotic Party and the main opposition National Democratic Congress have their own pitches to win the votes of the people. But the verdict is in the hands of the voter. Here are some of the voices from Kantamanto, one of Accra's biggest markets.
He promised us to reduce the taxes. We all know that when the reduces of taxes came down, all our prices is down, so everybody will come and buy it from us. But when the prices is high, no one will come and buy. So we are pleading on the government so that it should do something about the tax. As Ghanaians, right now we are fed up because they will come today, they will say, I'll give you hay. But tomorrow it's not that. What they would promise us to offer us, they did not. But now, I don't know, this 2020, I'll just queue the line and go and vote.
You mean you will not vote?
No, because I've had enough. Party here will come. I'll do this, I'll do. If it has market women, we are the ones supporting the economists. But nothing is decided to do for us. We are now sitting on the sun to struggle so that the government will come, tax us, AMA tickets, AMA baller, AMA lances, and nothing good is doing to us. So right now I'm fed up.
Baller, you 50 pesos.
We pay 50 pesos for clearing the rubbish. AMA takes 1 cedi, but they do nothing. They tell us it's for selling the land. My current situation will determine how I vote. It's been good so far because of free education. Even if I lose my fingers, I'll vote with my toes because of free education.
What we fed up your government name why because one license here be
a lot of things will influence how I vote.
Your ticket 50
we
pesos.
Pay AMA taxes of 1 cedi.
50 pesos.
Trash vendors come and also take 50 pesos.
Trash vendors
but there's always rubbish here. And we pay other service providers for them to collect the rubbish. We don't understand. Patronage of our goods is low. And the prices have...
Later, Kaba, Arabache, will get tickets in the Nahila Kanshika. It was one Nushishin. They just won't pay Niji Laxens, Hewa Laxens. Recently, Chamber announced Akaba income tax. Ghanaian women, we are suffering. One boy, market women. One boy, a Biada Kabiane, Nibia Lancha, Wajala, any hour. No Konokoya, no hour. Nibia Lancha, Nibia Feno. Quite any man, one of the buyer, as Agmeno. No one year were only.
And prices of goods generally have gone up. In December, I will vote for change. I won't tell you who.
So who are you voting for?
One policies that is going to help our businesses, our education, and anything. This current government have brought many policies about education, and we can observe and see what is going on.
Which part of it concerns you?
The free education, because right now I'm concerned about the quality of the education. Sometimes when we see when things are free, it's free of quality, you see. So the quality has a problem. But considering having everybody into the education system, you see that is a very good thing. But let's work on the quality. So John Mahama is saying that he's coming to work on the quality, whilst Audankwa is saying that he's going to continue with quality. So let's see what they bring to us as their manifesto, and it will foster our votes.
The team, as always, is poised to deliver to you unrivaled election coverage, and of course, with the most competent team on radio, television, and online on your election headquarters.
Well, the police administration says it is battle ready for the December 2020 polls. Director of Police Operations, DCOP Saibu Gariba, told Winston Amwa they will deliver a process devoid of violence.
That when we go back to history, the Ghana Police Service, assisted by security agencies, have policed elections in this country. And so far, it has been successful. And therefore, 2020 election is not different. We're going to also police that election with all the might that we have in this country. And I can assure you that going into 2020, the Ghana Police Service and the security agencies have started the planning since 2019. If you recall, the National Election Security Task Force was launched by the Inspector General of Police in August 2019, and that actually helped us to plan and execute 3 major elections. That was referendum 2019, the district level elections, and the unit committee elections, and they were all executed successfully. Therefore, that plan took into context the 2020 election, and I can assure you that we are on the ground, we are doing everything to police 2020 election. I will be robust, and then we'll be ruthless as far as 2020 election is concerned. What I can tell you is that no plan is static. As security agencies, we continue to review our plans in the context of the threat. So I can assure you that whatever plans that we've had, we continue to review them, and we are going to appropriately tackle them for the elections. And we are actually in place to tackle the.
What plans do you have to deal with vigilantism ahead of the elections?
The vigilante issue has been tackled. There is actually a legislation that has been enacted by Parliament that is in force. And therefore, the police will execute that legislation, including all other laws and then acts in this country that the police actually executes. So it is within that same framework we are going to give it the needed attention.
Okay, so talking about the police enforcing and making sure they go according to the law, there is always that fear, and there's always been that perception among Ghanaians that when it comes to dealing with vigilantism, the police in many of the instances is handicapped because the political elite get to control these things. What are you going to do differently to ensure that this time around, the political elite doesn't control or doesn't tie the hands of the police in dealing with this?
Let me assure you that in our planning, in our processes, and in our strategy for elections and every security that we do, we are not looking at any political party. The police service is not a political organization. It is a security organization. The same thing applies to all the other security agencies, and we are planning our security for these elections accordingly. We are not looking at any political party as far as election security and the security of the state is concerned.
You're welcome back. This is your election headquarters, and so, like I said, you've already seen our launch of today's launch of our election programming. As like I said, we'll be taking you across our platform to Asempa Studios, where Obi is standing by with their own election program. And of course, you know that we launched the election programming across all of our platforms on JoyNews, on Joy FM, on Adom, on Asempa. Obi is right now hosting someone in his studios. Let's go over there now.
Was someone in some human there about to now or badon woman was in the war by a fair. Yes. Now Obi Sabia Asam a bacan there or ya bakwasam kasi. Since in Obi in your man paying beer Osibia and Grofasha de Gunufia. Ghana for to await here now was a win opportunity to all son baby. Na sabi in summer what kind fan on. But the no babies who na yedin the matter tun the mahone there. And yemia in semi na no quatrudo and na onion no quatrudo. Okay. And I answer so yasan so yenya or man paying or tada. What can summer who Ghana for in your or the was sonishe? Na and penyifuno was on her. Na otedo na Ghana for ba says I heard then so na oye na nyemiara wetwa anade weti enti munua obi mjidi ne afi abatu no da he nyimen oyada obia odo onyi ni yanko ya adwende ubi bia ye bia no odo evidence base and are based on track record. Yeah. Apart from that and obi munhu sentira order ti mamufu nyina wajitum there. Se NDC na obotum waye ndema ahoro mo ma na etumpona or the what to about the NDC.
If you can hear me, I'd like to find out from you. I mean, we launched this together today, election headquarters. What has the response been so far? Hello, Obi, can you hear me? All right, just still here on the pulse with me, Gifty, and up here, we're crossing over to Ekosi saying on our account platform with whom we launched our election headquarters, which is our election programming for this year. Today, we did it across our platforms, across English and account platforms, and I'm linking up with Ekosi saying, the Ekosi saying team to give us an idea what to expect on your election headquarters in this election year. Obi, if you do hear me, I'd love to hear what the response has been so far on the back of our launch today. Looks like I'm having a hard time hearing Obi there, but do you know where to turn to for your election information? This is it, your election headquarters. Let me tell you about sanitation. Well, sanitation officers have closed down a public toilet operating a pan latrine system. The inspectors found that out of the over 20-seater toilet, including one for children, none had a discharge chamber. Now, what that means is that the fecal waste is carried out at night and disposed of into the lagoon. Here are excerpts of the Clean Ghana campaign tour at Old Fadama, a suburb of Agbubulushi.
That is what I'm saying. There was one hour.
Hey, go back. So you're free, huh? This is a pan latrine. Yeah, serious one. Some of you are young.
This is a pan latrine. Yeah, I will not go in.
Oh, you can stand here. Boss, now take the matter to head off. Record the case. Listen, you wait. Go back. Oh, yeah, Papa Jai. This is what we call pan latrine. It's buckets they use, after which they carry and go and pour in our lagoon.
You wait for you to come out and then you see it. So you tell us what to do.
The camera guy
Okay. Yeah, so this is a pan latrine. They use buckets to receive the excreta. Then in the night, somebody will come and carry it. But as to where this excreta is ends, we do not know. And there was a law that by the end of 2010, all public toilets, pan latrines should be eradicated from AMA. And these people are still using a pan latrine as a public toilet. And because they know we are coming, they have decided to run away and leave the place. So we are going to lock it. We haven't even seen anybody. So we are locking it. And we'll put surveillance on it. Anybody we see here, we are going to arrest the person. We'll put a surveillance on it. And that is what we are doing today. So as we are going out to lock it. We didn't meet anybody. We came in to meet the structure. Thank you.
It's a case that they've been warned before.
It's a case they've been warned before. Even letters were brought to them to even come for us to have a discussion with them. And they refused to come. They even refused to take the letters. Some took the letters and threw it back on the officers. Yes.
So we have 12 here and then 13 here. So all this will end up in our lagoons. And now the rains are coming. If we don't take time to ensure that we close down all these pan latrines, before you realize we have cholera and other...
So they carry them and send them
to the lagoon. That's where they dump it. And it's commercial, so imagine 42 is here. So it's about 20-something seater here that they have. And by law, the law fronts upon this. Four. That's 19. Like I was saying, the law fronts upon this act. It's against our bylaws. And anytime we see this, we have to close it down to ensure that we don't have any communicable disease outbreak, especially cholera and then typhoid. Yeah. So we are going to lock them now. So I think there's a need for you to also witness the locking.
It's enough for me. I've smelled it now.
We'll paste the notice. Okay. We'll paste a notice here for them.
Okay.
Yeah. So we will lock them in.
Send a video.
Who is holding the?
I'm the one holding the notice.
The camera. Who is holding the
He's
camera?
here, he's here.
Please, no, our camera. I gave you a camera. The keys were inside. Disposing it is also against human rights because somebody will do it inside the bucket. When it is full, then in the night, somebody will come and remove it and put it on the head and send it to the seaside, either to the lagoon, to wherever we don't know where it is being disposed of. And this is against our AMA bylaw. It's against it. So we've mostly all areas we are bringing you or we are sending you to are notorious places that we've gone to and we've taken actions and yet the people are not listening to. That is why we are sending you to those areas to name and shame them. We think that will be better.
You certainly don't want that in any neighborhood, especially in the days of coronavirus. But I'll tell you something else about health. Doctors at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital are raising alarms about how many young people are developing kidney diseases. Children as young as 5 years old are being subjected, to weekly sessions of dialysis in order to survive. As Ghana joins the rest of the world to observe Kidney Day, we put the spotlight on some lifestyle habits said to be accounting for the increase in cases of the condition. Matilda Gavi has more from our health desk.
Sounds from dialysis machines here at the renal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. 36-year-old Mary, not her real name, is one of 10 patients lying on beds, quietly going through dialysis session. When a person is diagnosed with chronic kidney failure due to damage or disease to the kidney, the dialysis is used to remove waste and unwanted water from the blood of the patient whose kidneys are not functioning adequately. This is Mary's first session for the week. She needs at least 2 sessions a week to survive. It's been 2.5 years of a life-troubling situation for Mary, her family, and even her career.
I was having consistent high blood pressure and protein in my urine, so they actually suspected it could be a defect with the kidneys. So I was asked to do some tests and it was confirmed it's a kidney issue, so I was referred here to Kolebu. And I was on review for a while until I was put on dialysis. It's been very difficult and it's been very challenging, especially the pressure here at the Kolebu unit, renal unit. Our machines are not many, as you can see, just less than about 12 or less. And we have over length, we are over 200 patients. And day in, day out, we are getting new cases. So the long wait here is just crazy. You can wait as long as 16 hours just to get dialyzed. And it's yesterday, for instance, I got here like 7 p.m. I'm now doing it. So there are a lot of challenges here. The machines are not enough. The patients are more. We always have an emergency. So the long wait is putting a lot of strain on us. Not just on us, but our relatives that escort us here. It's been very difficult. And unfortunately here in Ghana, some other patients are more fortunate. Someone like me, it has even cost me my job because of the long wait. At a point in time, my employers were like, my absence at work is affecting the job, so they had to lay me off. So it's a bit of a challenge. Some employers will understand, others won't, because you can see you spend a lot of hours, sometimes 24 hours, just to get treatment.
Diabetes and hypertension are the most common causes of kidney disease. However, some causes are unknown. Dr. Mensa Amoa, a physician specialist with the renal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, is worried about the number of cases brought to his table on a daily basis. He says children as young as 5 now survive on a dialysis machine.
So if you've had patients as young as 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 30, but these tend to be more of what we call the acute kidney failures. But they tend to be more of the acute. Acute means that some other sudden illness, maybe severe malaria or severe diarrhea, some severe infection might have caused it. Most of these tend to recover. And then we have others mostly between 20 and 40 years. That's the peak of most of the patients that we see. And like I mentioned to you earlier on, most diagnosed with hypertension, short history of hypertension. There are a number of them too, which when you take the information that they give to you and you examine, all that you can find is that they may have been exposed to alternative preparations, herbal medications. We are not sure which herbal medication or whatever is in them that is causing it. We are still doing research to find out what is causing all this.
For the young people, let's say the very young ones, which you say is acute, are they going to be on dialysis for the rest of their lives, or it's reversed at one point or the other?
So for most of the acutes, let's say about 90-95% of them, they will recover. So that one, the acute is well managed. But most naturally also ill from some other cause. So maybe the underlying illness, maybe the one that may kill them, but with the kidney failure, once they are dialyzed and they are treated, they get better. The kidneys may recover.
Kidneys get better, as in they will no longer need the dialysis, and it happens all the time?
Most of them, most of the acute ones. Most of what you are seeing here are what we call the chronic ones, the chronic kidney failures. For them, they are not going to recover. So they will need dialysis for a long time, for the rest of their life actually, or they will require kidney transplants.
They are going to be on this for the rest of their lives, going to at least 3 sessions in a week to keep them going. If they don't go through this 3 session or 2 sessions, what becomes of them?
Their symptoms will get worse. They will get more swollen. They will get tired. They will have difficulty breathing, and eventually they will pass away.
Aren't you worried as a health professional having to deal with these cases on a daily basis?
It's very worrying. Sometimes you can even say it's depressing, but we try to do our best within the limited resources that we have to provide some care to those who need it. Over the years, there have been a lot of efforts to make a lot of advocacy in terms of educating Ghanaians about kidney disease, the things that they can do to prevent them, and then to encourage people to live a general healthy lives that will reduce their risk of getting hypertension and diabetes and all these things. Because these are the main drive which is causing all these things. For those who are on chronic dialysis in this unit alone, that means they have kidney failure completely who come for dialysis. In a week, we have more than 200 patients. It's estimated that more than 400 patients in Accra are on chronic dialysis. The whole of, in a year, let's say in a year, we see about 300 patients who have come down with end-stage kidney failure. That means they require dialysis for the rest of their lives. But we have a large number of other kidney diseases, various stages. For the chronic kidneys, we have various stages, stage 1 all the way up to 5. 5 is the last stage.
What must I do to stay safe?
So we'll still go back to the basis of how these things come about. So most of them is hypertension. And most of these are related to our lifestyle activities these days. So we'll encourage general good healthy living, which include eating a healthy balanced diet. So cutting off salt intake, reducing our salt intake. Most of who eat these days have a lot of salt in it. So we need to cut down on the salt intake. We need to exercise frequently to keep our bodies in shape, to keep our heart working well, to lose weight if you are obese. And then drinking a lot of water, and then avoiding risky life behaviors like smoking, alcoholism, and then taking all those preparations that are over the place. Some of the diseases like hypertension and diabetes and kidney disease, you may not find anything wrong with you until it's gone all the way to the very end.
Early symptoms, nothing to show.
Until your kidneys have failed to a very large extent, you may not feel anything. If you're lucky, maybe you go for a checkup somewhere and then they find that you have hypertension. And in the course of your checkup for the hypertension, you may detect that you may have kidney problem. If it's detected early, in the early stages like stage 1, stage 2, then we may be able to do something about it. But if it goes all the way to the end, then it's not reversible.
A patient needs at least 300 cedis for a session on the dialysis machine. Some patients are unable to afford it. For 13 years now, Musa has been relying on contributions from family and friends to survive. He's also going through his session at the renal unit at Kolebu.
So when I got here, then they ran some lab tests, and then they diagnosed that I was having kidney failure.
How has it been for you? 13 good years going through this process.
It has never been easy at all up to date. It was my uncle who was financing for me. Then went on retirement, and I had to rely on other friends and then church and then relatives to survive on a daily basis.
How was it for you? What job were you doing? What job are you doing now?
I was selling mobile phones when I had a sickness. The dialysis I've spent stopped all the money. I don't have money to do the business again, so I'm not doing anything.
The financial and emotional burden on Daniel's young wife alone is heartbreaking for him. He's also been on dialysis machine for 2 years.
It's not been easy. It's not been easy. Financial problem. And the sadness is I got married 1 year and this sickness comes, so it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot.
Are you still working?
I'm not working now. Yeah, it's supposed to be 3, but because of financial problem, twice a week.
And how much does it cost you for one session?
3.6 for one a day. Yeah.
You've been going through this year for 2 years.
For 2 years. Yeah.
How are you able to manage through?
It's by His grace and support from my wife and some of the family members.
What message would you give to people out there on the occasion